Okay, we're recording.
We're recording.
I'm bringing my chapstick, my lavender hand lotion.
I love it.
I'm just gonna stay calm
And moisturized, which is foreshadowing. I'm kidding. We're digging in deep today, so we're just everybody get on your swimmies and get on your floaters because it's getting deep. But surprise! Here's the surprise!
Raquel is here in Spokane Valley, Washington, all the way
from Northern Virginia, across the country, across coast to coast.
Yeah,
big journey.
Yeah,
first time in this state. First time I see her in person as a real live human being.
Yeah.
It's been so amazing. I mean, it's like, who would have thought a year ago doing this project that we would be here?
I know. Not me.
Nobody, we can't plan this stuff.
No.
It's just incredible. And that's, I think, the lowercase faith of like just the faith in what we're doing, in us as people, and then the magic and the mystery of things coming to. Because how would I have been able to say, I want to see somebody in my life who can also mirror me and witness me and hold space? And I didn't know that I needed that.
Me neither.
You know?
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I feel like you're my closest friend. And like you've witnessed so much in me and I'm witnessing in you. And it's like, oh my God, I'm gonna cry. But it's really,
I mean, I literally did. After Raquel went to bed last night in the basement, my husband and I were up here, Justin, and I got teary and I wasn't expecting it because I was like, first of all, finding friendship in adulthood is hard.
Yes.
Second, being able to even navigate friendship in this day and age with the hostility of people who think differently than you, just in public and around. Most people, myself included, like we don't really say our most vulnerable things to our acquaintances anymore.
Right. That's right. No, not even. Yeah.
We don't even want to hint at what we believe in sometimes.
God forbid.
Yes.
And
not always, but you know, we've both had like tumultuous journeys to even landing here. So it's a gift to be here with you.
That we have so much in common, and then we have differences, but like that even brightens or like accentuates things. But the things that we have in common, I think, are the things that really like gel. And even if they're not 100%, because they don't need to be 100%, but like there is support, and there is like seeing different perspectives even in the same thing. Like it's just really beautiful. Yeah,
we think so similarly.
And
that's odd to me.
Yes, I know.
It's so cool.
It's so cool. Yes,
like a lot of the people, not a lot of people, but just there are certain communities as well, certain environments I've put myself in, where I just automatically think like the people, like plant 100%, people, all the herbalism studies I've done. Yeah, I get around my herb people and I'm like, oh, like you care about echinacea to the same depth that I do. You want to know how the stems grow, how the roots form, how it reproduces. Like, I don't know. And so that's, when it comes to the stuff that we're talking about, we're just lockstep.
Yes.
And
well, I feel like in a lot of our lives, like you're much more in herbs, but I also love herbs. You're in yoga, I'm in yoga, and some of the things we've done in our lives are similar, are like very parallel. And it's like, and who would have known by looking at us or like just by on paper? And yet we're very similar, like living on two other sides of the coast, living kind of parallel realities. And I just hope that, like, I mean, this is very healing as an individual, but like hopefully the magic of this and like the ripple effect is that this can create more of that in the world. Is like we're all more similar than we think, and the division is just like borders are fake. It's fake. It's a lie.
Well, that's what I want to hone in on. Oh, and I'm going to write it down. Okay. I keep track of myself when I actually, because borders, like, to what degree are they real?
Yes.
Is like the degree that they are being reinforced.
Yes.
So I'm just going to write that down. But I want to hone in before we get into it.
Yes.
Well, maybe you start.
I'll do the intro. Yes.
And then like we'll ground in like, who is this even for? And maybe this will speak to that.
Yeah. So we usually have an intro, but because we're in person, we just have extra spice today.
Yes. No more like waiting for each other to finish.
No, right.
Let's interrupt each other the whole time.
No, exactly. The mannerisms. And that's another thing. Okay, well, Well, if you're here, then hopefully you've continued this journey with us. But if this is your first time, welcome to the Capacity Conversations, a podcast, a series, a project where two women, us from the East Coast, East and West Coast.
And West Coast.
Yeah, the two coasts of the United States have a challenging dialogue about self-trust, transformation, and the reality most modern millennials are facing today. Do we actually have the capacity to do all the things we want to do? If you're joining us for the first time, my name is Raquel Sands. I'm a work design strategist. I have here on my notes, deep feelers, purpose driven. But honestly, it's just people who don't give a fuck about money. It's like,
but also want
to make it because we need it to survive.
Yeah.
But it's like, if I throw more money at the situation, that's not going to incentivize me. So if you know who you are, and I know who I am, like that's me. If we know, if we identify that money isn't the end goal, and you want to live in a life that feels luscious and free and autonomous, then I support you. I mean, I support everyone, but primarily those who want to live their life and not live it being drained, extracted from. Whatever that looks like. It could be a business or a job or anything in between. Like, I don't know, life happens, but that's really my jam. And then beautiful, awesome Sarah.
Some sort of vehicle for money. And that's why I'm drawn to Raquel's work, because I am, if you're like, that's me, I am also you, because I have known that I want to make good enough money.
Good enough.
And my whole upbringing, that line for what is good enough to have a good and decent life, that threshold, every year I've gotten older, that bar just keeps going higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And we're sitting in a house that we paid over like almost 4 times as much for. And granted, than our first house in Missouri. Very different markets, I know.
Yeah.
Okay. But even that house we bought 10 years ago has doubled in value in 10 years. And there's something, you know, part of my brain is like, good investment, right? All my real estate people out there, it's a good investment.
Sure.
Not all markets do that. No. And so if you want to do that in the real estate space, you have to dial in. Oh, by the way, I'm Sarah. I'm in the business of rewilding real estate. by the way, because like finding a job, a career, a business, whatever it is a vehicle to make enough money to bring into my life so I can steward it with maybe love and joy and happiness, maybe a little bit of happiness, at least the right to pursue happiness. And that's written into the foundation of this country. Oh, well, we're going to get into it. I can just feel myself on this.
I have to calm myself.
The cadence. I know, you're right. I'm going to dial it down.
I have to calm myself because I'm like, you go. So I hold it in.
Because this country, the United States of America, to that bar for living a good life it's like the goalposts keep changing. And 10 years ago when we bought our first house, we were young, poor. I mean, very privileged to be able to buy it because we lived with parents in an odd situations. Until we bought a house for $105,000, and it was, the mortgage payment was less than our neighbor's rent. And so because we were smart enough to make that move, and I don't say smart as like, that's the ideal thing. If you're smart, you do that. No, that's not true. Right. Renting has a lot of benefits, and there's co-live, there's many ways to live. But the vehicle of the speculative real estate market means that housing is now one of those commodities of investment that could potentially grow over time. So just because our market did that and we had that choice at that time, doesn't mean it's happening everywhere or everyone has the right access to it. Right. Or, I mean, because that really only happens in urbanized areas. And that's my whole other thing with rewilding real estate. It's like cities are not this ideal utopian way of living.
Full conversation.
So the intentional community aspect, I'm very interested in. A holistic way of making money, because my journey as a licensed real estate broker started very messy because I'm not very sales minded. No, I know. I just see that this vehicle for education and transformation, and everything really comes down to it because my love of plants led me to my love of homes and how we live, because herbalism is a lifestyle with community.
100%.
So if we're more and more isolated, these skills are getting lost.
So I mean,
that's I'm curious in how to maintain this very like nourishing human environment that people can live in while also making enough money to pay my bills? And why the hell is the cost of living going up so dramatically? So yeah, I'm interested in resources and money and sustainability. And that's why your work around career work and like helping people either, I think we were talking like the language of professional safety.
Yes.
Feeling secure enough and safe enough in your environment, whatever that looks like. That you feel safe. Enough.
Safe enough. Yeah. And so the intro we have is primarily catered towards millennials. We are millennials. We're the same age. We're literally 33, which is another thing. I know. 23. And that was another thing that it's like, it's interesting being this age at this time because we're adults, but we're not like potentially suffering ageism in the workforce because we've been in the workforce, but we're not there yet. We're at the pivotal place where we can move potentially. And so we call this capacity conversation because what is capacity? Like, sure, I could do many things in life. If I want, I can skydive, I can go up Mount Everest, I can do this. Yeah, but do I even have the capacity? And capacity is like multi-layered. And each episode, we've talked about different levels. We've talked about, we're now getting into spirituality, but we've talked about geopolitics a little bit, definitely in this country. We've talked about our origin stories and how we got to this and why all of this matters to us. So it's like, I think capacity is the right word because just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I mean, and also like, the revert, right? Yes. And so capacity is such an interesting word, I think, in general, because you can be capable, but it's not going to nourish you. Like sometimes I just really want ice cream and I know I should have a salad. Like, you know, like I what I need is different than what I want. And the need and me analyzing my need in that moment, like when I'm menstruating versus when I'm so all I say about that is like capacity is very fluid, which when we talk about our work about rewilding real estate and rewilding finance and deprioritizing money, like what is capacity in your season of life now, especially as a millennial with kids, with caretaking of our family members, with stewarding our bodies? Like there's all these layers and we're all in it. And it's hard because we don't have actually capacity more than we think we do. And realizing that. So it's like
modeling.
Yes. Yeah. So we hope that this is a safe space to question, positively, safely challenge yourself, ourselves, because that's what we don't see in the world. And we don't have to agree. We don't all have to think the same, but it's like just the opportunity to see from different lenses and breathe honestly, because I feel like we're all kind of constipated emotionally, mentally. Like we're all like, oh, you know,
the tension dates literally, I think that's some of the when people say the culture wars.
Yes.
It's, I think first of all, it's like, what is culture?
Right. Check out our political correctness episode. Because we've checked out, we've done so many different layers of
darkness. We did darkness.
Yes. Death.
Death. And what I just thought of something.
Oh no, sorry, because I said constipated. I mean,
the tension, constipated, because the culture, that tension,
culture wars. And what is culture?
What I think part of what feeds that, whatever that is, or whatever people, because when people say it, I think they mean many different things.
Yes.
But I think maybe one of the themes and what everyone is saying regarding the culture wars is this tension. And like I said at the beginning, of like, it's weird. I even heard myself say it. I'm like, it's weird. Why do I not want to express some of my beliefs to people around me?
Right.
What is that?
There's always a safety of performativity.
Yeah.
There's like this. Yeah.
There's also fear. And I feel 100%. Like the communities I've been in, even since COVID, are because my life shifted a lot during COVID. It was really before and after moment in my life. I think I also saw some of what was already happening in our country.
Yeah.
But you could see it a little more for the first time. And it's like every major crisis since then, the veil has dropped a little bit more, or a little bit more,
We're peeling the layers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Epstein stuff too, but the election fraud, or like
all these things,
the welfare fraud, or whatever it is. It's like just in how we respond to it. You know, a famous person dies. It's like just in how we respond to it.
Yes.
And I'm seeing like,
yes.
I mean, the very next day after the press conference about the new nutrition guidelines, the very next day, it was all these articles on why you shouldn't trust it.
Wow.
And I was like, no. I think when we really question why it's happening, making this country healthier.
Yeah.
It's like, if we're all on board for that, and maybe that's their reasoning for writing the article.
Right.
I guess. Right. You know, it's like, here's why you shouldn't trust it, because if you really want a healthier lifestyle, here's the belief system to have. And so that, I think, feeds the tension.
Yes.
That maybe feeds the culture wars.
Right.
And it's not good. And,
no.
And there are more spaces like this dialogue. I feel like, for anyone on the journey with us, I hope it opens that space, because it has for us personally,
100%.
And even if that's the biggest benefit, which it might be, I think, no matter what. It's still, we need to have these, and
we need to have the hard conversations in a safe, kind way. And that in and of itself is hard, because you know, when we see a watermelon, it's like, how am I going to eat that? It's like, it's a big thing, but then you have to cut it up, and the cutting of it is hard. And then figuring out the pieces, and watermelons are messy, they're juicy, they spill all over you, they're luscious, then you're sticky, but then you want more, but then you've already cut it up, so you've already done the work, creating the capacity, creating the container to do that. And I think we tackle hard things in our series, but we do it hopefully, and I hope you all see it, in like loving, respectful, mindful, intentional. Like, we're not just throwing things out. And I think it's really challenging, because we're faced with so much all at the same time, and there's no really break to process things in life now. It's like, oh yeah, I gotta go do this health thingy. Oh yeah, I gotta go finances. I gotta do this. I gotta do this. I gotta do that.
Processing time.
Justin
and I talk about that. It's like, can we just like sit and stare at a wall for like 30 minutes?
Yes. Because it's like, nobody has the systems, and systems is like a big word, but like we're gonna get into religion today, and that's a system, and then the financial system, and like there's all these systems that are like subsets within the larger society world. And it's like, there is really no way, we're all thrust in it. And then we're, depending on our backgrounds and cultures that have already filtered things in that way, then it's like, we could be advantaged, disadvantaged. Some people have more hope. Some people have more cynicism. And then that filters how we approach these different systems. And then it's just like, when we're our age as millennials, we get the chance to finally decide for ourselves, what the fuck do we want and why? And it's hard, because at that point we already have responsibilities. And so then it's like, you cart before the horse.
And we've already formed a lot of our identity too.
100%.
Or what we think of as our identity.
What we think, yes.
And maybe that's, I haven't thought about that before, but a lot of why I feel like it's important to even make video content and put it out in the world of things this vulnerable is potentially hopefully for the next generation. I mean, as much as I meet a lot of cool elders who really respect younger generations, not as many as I would like.
Right.
But the ones that I do, they actually listen to what I say, because I am younger to them. And depending on what we're talking about, like that is the fruit of the conversation, is we get to learn from the other generations. And that, one of the reasons I'm listening so hard to Gen Z, Gen Alpha, is because of that medicine that was given to me by elders. Being like elders sitting with me, saying like, and why do you think this way?
Wow.
Or and what are you struggling with now? And I can't tell you how many times have you heard this? Like, I can't imagine being your age right now in this day and age.
I mean, thank you for saying that. Why didn't you help me when you could have?
Yes. Because some of the policies from their generation are what we're living in. And so when we talk about the cost of living or some of the just like the cultural standards, like watching the Tyra Banks stuff recently, I'm like, why was that the heroin model? That's what they call her, like the heroin zero or the heroin skinny or whatever that is.
Oh my God.
Like, those were the beauty standards of our childhood.
I have to hide for a second because I was taken by surprise by that Tyra Banks thing.
Yeah.
And I grew up on we grew up on America's Next Top Model.
Yeah.
And I did check her Instagram. If you're watching, you don't deserve millions of followers.
She said it.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Because
she's a fake.
She came on to that documentary very polished, but I'm like, that's also her whole posture.
I don't like it.
And so that
posturing,
I'm writing that down because we talk about the posturing of where we are in business and how us as individuals have to have leverage in the workplace.
Yes.
And so you do have to identify your skills and what you're worth. And not that that's never monetary value, by the way. Tad Hargrave, I hear you.
Yes.
That is never a monetary value or worth.
No.
But to the degree that it drains us, kills us, makes us sick, does or doesn't pay the bills and for our livelihoods.
No.
We have to be aware about that and then position ourselves in a way that we learn and grow.
And that's why capacity is so challenging, because then it's like we're juggling the like internal storm, but it is not able to manifest and express because we're posturing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a controlled thing. Like I know I'm unhappy in this job or in this relationship or my health is shit or whatever the fuck. And it's the tension. And that's the tension that's contained while the performativity and the survival. So then we have to reassess and reset. I probably have much less capacity than I think I do to even engage in dialogue of religion or like challenge my identity. Or
that's it,
because it's like we're all in debt in some way or another. We're already in a deficit, and so it's like these conversations are so healing because we try to not speak the truth, but speak a truth and give voice to things that we're all feeling. Like, I don't understand things that are happening in life, let alone my life. And so much of the work is just trying to understand and who is telling what and what side. And like all of that takes so much that
energy.
And then I have to re-engage and be like, is this worth it? Does this mean something enough for me to then go down that rabbit hole? And that's why half the time, like religion, that we will get into, you guys, but this is always just like why this matters. Like religion for me, I felt like it took up so much of my time in my youth that there was a time where I was like, I'm going to put a pin in this. Like there was a moment where I had to pause.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with finances. Like all of my 20s was, let me get out of student debt. Yeah. Let me get out of car debt.
Yeah.
So that would set me up for another thing. And so it's always like the capacity changes in a different area of life. And so to say that we have to do all the things all the time, or like, I can't imagine. Well, you know what? I can't imagine either.
I can't imagine paying your way through college on a part-time job and still being able to buy a house. Imagine. And I have people who like,
and then date and be healthy and figure out your cycle
and still go to bowling every Thursday, for fuck's sake.
I can't. And then they question why we want weed
or why we don't have kids.
Or why we don't have kids.
And that's such an important conversation too, is not having kids, because debt, I wrote down debt. I don't know why this just popped into my head, but in the intro you said the two coasts of the United States.
Yes.
I just want to say Gulf, you're a coast too.
Oh yes.
The Gulf.
That's That's right.
Because even in my Midwestern, my Missouri brain growing up, like I grew up in flyover country. And so the coast, the blue parentheses of the United States were like the coastal that was when you listened to the news or you saw how America was represented on the global scale, like the coastal ideals were kind of what was represented.
Right, right.
No, but I just like thought about that because the debt too, because I thought of odd things. My brain is funny, and talking in person is just
fun. I know,
interesting.
I know. We're learning.
Because it was like put a pin in that and put a pin in the debt thing.
Yes,
because it's no small thing. Because when you said grinding in your 20s to pay off your debt, so your 30s are ideal. A lot of people in their 30s are still doing the same thing. A lot of people in their 40s are still doing the same thing.
Yes.
People in their 50s and 60s.
Yes.
And the number of people who are struggling with debt in the States has just gone up and up and up. The amount of credit card debt since COVID and is insane. And so and you look at all the options for housing out there, and none of them are actually affordable. And then you combine the risk. And you choose. And because what is available to choose, which is too high of rent and too expensive of a region, that you have to have a car to get to your job that doesn't actually pay you enough. And you might say enough, what is enough?
Right. Right.
But that stress, I think the debt is what makes it feel like it is actually never enough.
Never.
Because you know that every penny you're working toward is going to pay off your past. And
it's sacrifice your future.
Yeah, at the expense of your future.
At the expense of your future.
Which is extra stress, which makes it extra hard in the moment. And there's never any satiation.
No.
And I think that's something that's hard for millennials to articulate.
Yes.
To elder generations.
Because potentially we've never felt it before. Like
to this degree.
Yeah.
We're in our 30s and 40s now, and it's like it still feels like we're in our teens and 20s.
No, but I mean, like in general, I think potentially, like we've always been pivoting. Like we were talking last night, we had the flash drives, then we had the CDs, then we had the little hit clips, then we had iPod, then the computers changed, and that like I feel like our generation is very special in the sense that we've always been adapting, and so with that comes this like, well, where is home? Like, what is safety? You know, in general, and so. You know, it's a constant question of redefining for ourselves in every new pivot, because potentially we've never known it in ourselves, in our families, in our cultures, in like all these other circles, like a Russian doll. And it's just like, well, possibly the benefit of that is that because we've never known, we can create it. And define it for ourselves.
I think that's the lens you have to look at.
That's yes.
Yeah.
Because
otherwise it's being given to us.
Exactly.
And that's what's happening.
And that's what this conversation is challenging, is like we try to poke holes at the different layers of society and stuff to see like, this is why we are the way we are, is because we have dealt the brunt. Or given the brunt of the situation, like the residual of all the other wars and the World War IIs and the boomers and everything. Now we're dealing with it, and Gen Z is dealing with it. We're all dealing with it. So it's like now we have to, because if not, then it's killing us.
Yeah,
and I'm not dying. I'm not a martyr for this shit.
No, and we're the first. Yeah. I feel like what you're saying is like we are the first to access the depth of emotional connection that makes us feel and acknowledge this is actual safety and actual home and actual familiarity around something that is more nourishing than just like the obedience parenting style. Or like, hey, we're not in a global world war anymore. Like that level of baseline is very different than our coddled, soft generation of like we were born in the 90s. I mean, there was a lot of shit going on in 92.
And we had 9/11.
And so we witnessed all of this, but also
the rise of terrorism and being scared of like
it
gun shooting,
the psychological wars, which I think created this illusion of safety that we were raised in, which maybe is what opened up this doorway for more emotional awareness or connection. Because I think, I mean, when I first went to Seattle to work with kids, from Missouri to youth programs in Seattle, I was like, these kids, I grew up in a very small town, conservative, small culture. Yeah. And so the very diverse, very progressive, very open, very liberal Seattle, I couldn't deny it in front of my eyes that these kids are very emotionally intelligent. Yeah. And that was not, I didn't grow up that way. I did not have the language for this kid who just told me, like, I need some space right now. I did not know how to say that when I was that small. And so, where was I going with that? Safety of maybe we are the first generation to have some access to that.
I think so.
On a broader scale.
I think
because we're not living in the global war situation anymore. Although we are at war with Iran now.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. There's always a war.
That happened yesterday.
God.
So
if you're watching this in 2026, then today is March 1st. So it happened yesterday. Yeah. I just feel like we're a very interesting generation because we're a bridge. We're a bridge in so many ways because we didn't grow up with tech. It grew up with us. Like as we were growing, it was growing. So it's not like boom AI, boom TikTok, boom. Like we got to see as we were growing up, okay, now there's no CD player or Walkman. Now it's this. And so it evolved with us. And so we had kind of time to potentially process depending on where we grew up in the world and stuff. Because my husband grew up in Lima and he was like, oh yeah, Walkman was the shit. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, but then we also had hit clips and access. But it was like we all had a distance to technology. And we were bridging that. And we were the bridge in workforce. Like my mom and those generations of like, email and like we already
the chat room
because we already had access. So I'm very glad, I'm very fortunate, and I'm proud to be a fucking millennial because it's like I wouldn't want to be younger at this time. I wouldn't want to be older.
Those old people saying I'm sorry.
I'm like, I'm good where I'm at, you know?
Yeah, I think that's part of the secret too is acknowledging where you're at.
Yes.
Knowing where you're at.
Yeah.
And knowing what you have in your pocket to do something about it.
100%.
Because the hippies, I mean, I heard myself say just now, like, we're the first generation to access it. It's like, no, the 60s were a time.
They were we
are standing, just acknowledging, like, we are standing in this position because of the previous generations as well.
Yeah.
Both are true.
But I it's another level of emotional.
Have Instagram, though, right?
No.
So the psychological.
No, I mean, like, because they were very much into drugs and psychedelics.
Right.
And our generation wasn't. No. Or I don't feel like it was.
No, LSD was not that way.
No, exactly. So I feel like they were, but it was almost potentially an escapism.
Yeah,
you know,
the people, the friends I've met who were doing the work in the 60s.
Yes.
They said there was some of that.
That's what I'm saying. And I feel like ours was very
spirituality.
Yeah, exactly. Everything has cycles. Yeah. But I guess we're just going to get into religion, you guys. We're just going to hop into it because that was one of the things we did, the lowercase f, as we were calling it, at faith, lowercase f, about like an inner compass. How do we orient our sense of belief, our orientation in what makes sense with the mystery, with why life is the way it is, and how we make sense of that through the lens of faith. That was last episode. This episode is mainly uppercase F, so we're talking more structurals of religion and religion as a system. And why this matters. Why are we talking about religion when we're talking about capacity? Because I think that religion is another system that filters, has the potential and does discern and like filter things for us. It like shapes why is the world the way it is? You know, it literally has origin stories and mythology around it. Yeah. And so if we grow up in certain religions, it's like, shit, that's the way the world is.
This is how we see the substrate of reality.
Yes.
And then through this lens of belief.
Exactly.
In something that isn't quite, it's not this.
No.
This isn't the origin story I understand.
No, exactly.
But knowing that helps me understand this.
Exactly.
It's orienting.
It's orienting, exactly. Yeah. And then it's like, you know, as we choose to challenge or like interact with that capacity of, I'm struggling with religion, I'm struggling with my identity in this part of the system, then it's like, okay, what part of it? And all of that is challenging because, at least for me, in my career, like, I wouldn't identify myself as a religious person. I am a person of faith. I am spiritual. I am mystical, and I lean towards like the mystery, but I don't like to label as a dogma or as a religion, because I'm like, it might change. It might continue to evolve with me. And that whenever I was changing jobs, I still always prayed or meditated, because there was an element of, I don't know if this job is going to come through, or what, you know, the financial thing is going to be. But I'm praying that whatever thing being created me has my best interest at heart.
Yeah.
And I have my best interest at heart.
Yeah.
So I'm just putting the good feelings, the good prayers, the good sentiments out there. And that for me was what helped me navigate capacity with faith, with religion, because I'm like, church is great, community is great, having a Bible, having a scripture, all of that is great. But that when I needed something to hold on to, that's not what I went to. It was like a relationship with the divine, with the mystery of my own volition, if that makes sense. Like, I had to, it's like calling a friend. Like, I call my friend, help me out, witness me. Can you help me? Can you support me in this moment? And that is what led me more into like mysticism, spirituality, versus like, I need the structure of religion to support me in this. So that's what started my kind of journey. And I talked about that in the other episode about like my upbringing and being Christian, Baptist, and all this stuff. And so, yeah, so I think the big thing for me that I want to raise in our discussion today is religion as a system. And we pulled a card today. Also, we pulled a card. So that was part of the inspiration. Were we betrayed, or have we been betrayed in some way? Has there been a disservice done to us by religion of like, and religion is a big thing. I want to caveat to say that we're in the United States, so I don't have experience with Hinduism or other religions, primarily Abrahamic. I'm not Muslim or Jew. I'm not Christian either, but I grew up in a Christian background and I have an affinity with that. So we're primarily going to be talking about Christianity and potentially some Quran, Islam, maybe Torah, Abrahamic religions, monotheistic religions. But with that in mind, were we betrayed? How have we felt betrayed? How have we felt hurt and slapped in the face, kicked in the balls, in the uterus? I have some good examples of that on the table right here. Slapped in the uterus. She said that. For real. No, yeah. Especially in my experience of like where women, and maybe I want to get into gender and race in our Christian upbringings. Okay. Well, yeah. Because the whole slap in the uterus is, God, that's painful. It is. Already. God, I could cry because it's, as a woman, to have sovereignty like outsourced into a man, because the man had the power in the church. The whole women keep silence in the church, taken to its extreme in rural, what we would call today as right-wing America. Yeah. I don't think in my experience, I don't
I don't think it's all based in extremism.
No. Yeah.
But what's the one, the Ginger, the show with all the kids and the Christian, I don't know. God, sorry. I'll link it later.
Okay.
But Ginger something, Duggar? The Duggars? I don't know.
Okay, I'm not the person.
I haven't seen the show, but people who talk about it because when I tell them my experience with kind of an extreme conservative church or Christian flavor of Christianity.
Right.
It's not everyone's experience.
No.
And so I think on a whole, Christianity in America or the United States is portrayed to be very extreme when, especially right now. And I think it has the potential for that and the shadow for that. And I want to get into that. But it's not often very extreme. But in the case of like the book or the lady that I'm halfway referencing right now, it is very extreme. And I look at my experience and then I look at other people's experience and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't experience that level of like hearing women who essentially just give their bodies to men and are taken advantage of because the man has the power in the church and the community. And in one instance of an interview I was listening to, like the woman even went to a leader in the church and said, like, my husband is raping me. And then like their job is to have babies. And so for the leader of that church, and this woman's story was essentially just submit.
I can't.
And that was my subliminal messaging. And to whatever extent the leaders who raised me that are watching this, who might say, Sarah, that's not what we taught you. To some extent, that subliminal messaging was there, and I did internalize
You're in denial.
I did internalize that story, and it took me leaving my husband 6-7 years into the marriage to acknowledge that and spend 2 years apart and like working through things to understand what was I bringing into the marriage that was an old, outdated belief system, and that was just there. So,
religion in general has killed the woman.
Say more.
Because I feel like modern religion, like I asked this with AI of like, what happened to the goddess? What happened to like traditions that honored the masculine and the feminine?
Yeah.
And I don't feel that in any religion, that was an Abrahamic religion, Abrahamic religions.
Sure.
Because why is it that all the prophets are men? Muhammad and Moses and Jesus. And where's the woman? And why are women subservient? And they're just the wives or the companions or the whatever. Like they take literally, we were made by the rib of Adam. And I was like, fuck that shit. And even in the word woman, we've got man. Like, and female, like we're in addition to, like our whole existence is a question mark.
Well, I think that part of the story, and see, this is where I think the story of Jesus being wildly and grossly misinterpreted for men to hold on to power, like with their insecure lives, like, and that is denied, or their interpretation of like the true stories of Jesus. Like, because when you say, where's the woman? I'm like, Mary Magdalene.
No, I know. But we've done the work and we're women.
No, exactly.
To figure out.
And we aren't taught. I was not taught about Mary Magdalene. I did not realize that part of what made Jesus so radical was that he welcomed women into his circle.
That's beautiful.
And that disciples, because the oldest tradition in the world maybe is mentorship. Yeah. And so like for us to disciple unto a teacher is a very common thing. We've been doing it forever.
Yeah, 100%.
And so that being the main, before, the mass education system.
Right.
That's another episode.
Oh gosh.
But before that pipeline, like the ability to choose who you wanted to learn from and what you wanted to do, they would steward the curiosity in you, and you could steward their transition into elderhood and eventual death by making them feel valid and filled with dignity by passing on to me what I feel like is a very worthy and noble education, and to learn from what Jesus is called master and he's called teacher, rabbi. to learn from the rabbi is an honor, and mostly only for the men for all of history.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And so the fact that he has women with him, is one of the things that I think makes the Jesus story very cool.
Yes,
and very radically, absolutely. Like there was a shift in the history of like what it means to bring all, like some of his words too, I think are useful in bringing all the reality of all the odd things he would say, and the people marveled, like, what? Yeah, is very much of how I feel when I read the words sometimes. Yeah, but it's like psychology as well.
It is.
So he's distilling reality into this digestible little
100%
thing.
He was doing the capacity conversations
long before we ever thought of it. Yeah, totally. Which is why this, and I keep looking at this, and it's like making me angry. So I think I need to move it. But the slave Bible, like being able to withhold knowledge of freedom, the love that was taught, this is a corruption.
Well, I just want to provide my context, or like what I want to say, which is, this is why we're talking about religion, because religion filters like what is allowed, what is permissible, in an institutional way. Like when they say we need a tithe, and it's like, well, where's the money going? It's not like we take it when we're dead. Like, even though the Egyptians, they have the whole pyramid, and it's like, so it's an institutional, it's a formalized way of whatever, like the way you show up in life, how you believe, what's moral, what's emotionally going to attune to you, what is okay for certain people versus not. And that's my struggle with religion, is like, it already denies
a lot of gatekeeping,
denies capacity, removes capacity, because it's like, this is who you are now. It gives you an identity before you even get to question it or like form it.
Yep.
And that's why I struggle with religion. Yep. Not to say that it's not important to have an organization of your beliefs and have some sort of structure, but I feel like that's where the individual, and what you just said about the mentorship, like having a closeness, because if it's like, what the fuck I'm sorry, but like, what the fuck does the Pope know about my relationship with God?
Yeah.
Like,
and we hated the Pope growing up. Like our flavor of Christianity was like, he's a false god, essentially. Yeah. And so going into any Catholic church, growing up, was like this idol, like golden calf looking altar.
Oh my God.
And yet that's like one of the oldest ways of expressing our ability to look up. And that's the other thing I love about the cathedrals.
Yes.
That it draws our attention upward in a way that is the answer, or what I would hope the purpose of religion does is like allows us to be in the world of warfare and still draw our eyes upward in a way that's like, okay, I can aim at the highest good and still be here. And I think that's what people get lost in.
Yes.
And even to like the elite club of the world ruling, like with the whole Babylonian god, whatever. Here, can you move that over there?
Okay.
Because this cherry picking of like of what knowledge the plebes people are allowed to have, but we are going to withhold this higher version of truth.
Which is why she referenced the Negro Bible, the slave Bible, because that's literally what it is. It's like
because they took out the chapters on freedom and sovereignty, but they kept in things like the love and the grace of God,
and the
obedience. And because it's a full gem, and to only show like, hey, you're allowed to see this angle of it is an abomination of the purpose of it, which is why I think even if you have no religion, I don't say you, but
but in general,
and because I know you, your spirituality orients you in a way that at least you see the highest good or 100%. Ideal in things.
100%.
And I think that the cherry picking allows people to say, no, I have the highest good.
Right.
Or something like that.
That's a good way to distinguish, because I do believe that there is a, like, I don't know if entity or being, but there's something else. And I do distinguish between like this human body and the ego and all of that. And that is not it. Does it, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like there is something else that is virtuous and in integrity and in harmony, like whatever it is that created or whatever, the whole universe and your what is it, the patterns,
Fibonacci spiral,
the patterns that live in all of life and that create everything. We're all connected. So then it's like that for me is beyond comprehension. But that is also what I like to think about, and that fills my spirit, my soul up. And so it's like, then I don't need the dogma because it's beyond definition, but that still is like the North Star for me. Yeah.
How do you, because I'm a systems thinker, we're systems thinkers. Like, and then in my community work, I see this lens of like, okay, so you want to build trust in your group, your organization. What kind of practices do we have already embedded in the culture that might feed that trust? You say you want to build trust. How are you doing that? Just by being around each other, like the experience, like how do you measure that you had some trust and then we did a thing and then more trust came from that. And and vulnerability and the sharing, like the bonding of people, like that's one thing. But vulnerability is also like, yes, it's power, but used as currency in the workplace, it's a very disgusting thing.
That's like some toxic shit.
So explain to me how we're going to build trust here if that's the intention of the group. So I ask you actually, how do you keep yourself oriented to that highest good? Because I think a lot of the religious texts that people adhere to and maybe too tightly and for whatever shadowy reasons, it's in service to wanting to be a good person. But how do you know you're on that path?
I think and I don't know how I realized this, but it was like, as long as potentially I'm not harming myself or others. And there's many layers to that, right? Like there's emotional harm, there's physical harm, the way I speak, the way I posture, like, so that's a lot to juggle with in any given time, but that is a conscious practice. Like the way I show up in the airport yesterday, okay? And a white guy, I took a passport because we don't know. I even have a fear in my own country of how am I being read, okay? And I looked at AI and AI was like, you need a real ID. I was like, I don't fucking have that. I have my passport, and passport for me is the gold standard. So that for me is like, I try to have a gold standard in terms of my North Compass. Like, what is it that is my minimum, which is I don't harm I strive not to say that I do, but it's like there's emotional harm sometimes. Don't try to harm myself or others in my practice of trying to be a good person, or like, and that's hard because, so the guy at the airport, he took my boarding pass and maybe he never thought about it, but he left my boarding pass on the desk after he had checked my passport. And I was like, so am I not, I need to board. And so I just like, I snuck out. I was like, oh, give me my boarding pass. And and then the same guy, when I had to take off my shoes and do the whole process, he like stopped in front of me and was like, you wait here.
And you still had to take off your shoes?
I still had to take off my shoes.
Why? But did everyone?
Everyone took off their shoes.
Oh, I thought that was done away with. I haven't done it.
No, we all take off our shoes. Okay. But I just didn't like that he was right in front of me. And there was another guy and there were other people. But I took it as like, you know, is it because I'm brown? Is it because I have curly hair? Is it like, what is this? Because it's 4 a.m.
You didn't want to say by him, or he didn't want to say by you?
No, he just went right in front of me, the TSA guy.
Oh.
He just stood right in front of me, kind of stopping me from going ahead of the security check. And I was like, why? You know, is there a reason? And so I'm like, I'm just going to continue with the bins and putting my stuff. But it's like, in that moment, my spirituality is like, I have to be conscious of like, I don't know his narrative story, but I'm going to do the best I can in this moment and continue. And it's like, I've not seen churches do that of like, this is how you practice in real life. Like, you know, my mom grew up Catholic and I struggled with that because, you know, so much of the media portrays as like, you go and you confess and then you say your 10 Hail Marys or whatever. Right. And then you have removed your debt. You've like
hell insurance.
You've hell insurance. Yeah,
how convenient.
You're done. And that's why I've struggled with calling Jesus Savior, because I'm like, I don't want him to save me. I want to save me.
Yeah.
Like I want to be able to Like if he's a gardener, I want to be able to harvest and ingest and then learn.
Yeah.
He literally said, teach people to be fishermen.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so I don't want to be a fish and I don't want you to sell me fish. I want to be a fisher person. And it's so hard because it's like, I feel like religion is like a drug. It's like a business.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and it's like, it's drug and the drug dealer. And it's like, here it is. And you
shocking, it's God.
It's
God. That's true. God's in every drug dealing. Both the drug and the dealer.
And the drug dealer. It's everywhere. It's all things,
Yeah.
And it's just like, so it numbs you. So you've got your insurance policy. So then you don't need to have capacity to engage with it. So then you're checked out. But then you can go to it again to feel good and like solve your problem, but doesn't really solve the problem. So it's really hard because it's like, it takes an active, conscious, conscientious, at all times, 24/7. I can't check out. Like even before bed, sometimes I'll be like, maybe I didn't say that the way I wanted to, or maybe the tone. And so it's not a reprimand, but it's just like, again, I'm reflecting and I'm conscious of my actions and how do I want to show up? And did I even feel good? Maybe I felt good to the person, but did I feel good about that to myself? Oh, so it's like, yeah. So that's it for me. It's like,
I love that.
It's hard.
I think that is as close to what any religious person might hope for.
Yeah.
It also, like you just saying that made me think that we did talk about last time, the inner game and the outer game.
We did. Yeah.
And how maybe that inner orientation or that belief that things are going to work out or whatever that lowercase f faith is your guiding light to like where you want to be in the outer game.
Yep.
And what kind of positioning you want to put yourself in.
100%.
Where are our borders or boundaries? Where is my capacity to handle this so that I do have the tools in my toolkit to do what matters.
Yes.
And maybe that is evolving my belief system. Maybe that is maturing and letting go of I think, isn't it biblically the childish ways or like my pastor last week actually called it Christian babies. Like Satan wants you to stay Christian babies. And he's like, but what God wants you to be is our spiritual parents.
Yeah.
And of course, Justin and I are like, we want to be parents. Like, doesn't that sound like, but even as spiritual parents, like this idea of, wouldn't we want to strive? Isn't that thing that you're describing, which is looking at your life and being like, did I steward myself and others well today?
That's right.
And did I cause harm in any way? What was the fruit of my labor today? What Justin and I will share highlights of the day because that was a routine that we do in youth programs and it just became a home routine.
That's beautiful.
And it's that reflection, that sunset part of the natural cycle to sit and say, was this good?
Yeah.
And I think that, to sum it up, is religion. Is this good? And it was good. God created this world and it was good.
Yeah.
That's what it says.
Yeah. So I just, and I told you before, I was like, I feel like inside me, I didn't realize that I have, and it's becoming maybe more predominant as I get older, this aversion to like, you have to tell me what to do, how to do it. Like, because now with time, I'm like, I trust myself to learn. So I want you to trust me as well. Yeah. So I'm like, so don't tell me what to do.
Teenage into adulthood. The relationship to the parent.
Right.
Or the higher.
Right.
Whatever.
It's like I got it. So it's like, I don't need religion to tell me. I just need a space to show up. But if I'm told this is how you have to eat and you can't eat this and you can't do that and you can't do, is that helping me reflect and be autonomous? Or is that what is that helping me achieve? That's my thing. Is like, sure, if you don't want to eat pork, don't eat pork. I don't know the morality of, is pig dirty? I don't know. Is cow dirty? Is a lamb more sacred than this? I don't know who or what sets that. But like, those are the questions that I want to be able to discern.
Right.
And
for
not
myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if I just take it, then it's like, then again, it goes back to the drug thing of like just numbing out. And I don't want to be numb. And even I told you I'm a light drinker. And I think this just permeates my life. I like to be conscious at all times.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to be tipsy, if I want to have an edible, but it's a contained space, like tobacco, pipe, like there is a purpose for some sort of like, let go of your mind. Yeah. Absolutely. But I still am choosing to let go of my mind.
Yeah.
I'm not just being sedated all the damn time. And that for me is like huge. And it's put pressure because then it's like nobody is watching me. Nobody is calling the shots but me. And that's hard because do I know morality? No, I don't know. I don't know. But I can be in this like witnessing or like experimentation of that. And I don't know. I think I learned, I did a class in Eastern religion. So this is the one moment, presumably, for Eastern religion for me in my life. And I learned about Buddhism. And I loved Buddhism. I thought I was going to be a Buddhist for a hot minute.
Me too.
Because I was like,
yeah,
to let go, to recognize that suffering, and I am part of my own suffering. And so, boom, you're responsible. You can't ask God to save you. You have to save your ass. And then on top of that, it's the attachment, and there's a path. Attachment. Yes. So all of that is like, that's what I was missing. Is I'm totally cool. Like Jesus and I can be BFFs. Like I'm totally fine with that. I have no problem with any of it. I just don't like the structure, the legal. It feels legal.
Legalistic.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
That's the word that
yes.
I feel like the people who left the church I was raised in about the same time that I did. I was about 20. That was the word that was used often to describe what I've been looking back, like the more extreme people in that church was their just adherence to the word, to its literal words and definition.
No.
And I think there's so much abstraction. That's why there are so many flavors. I say flavors, but denominations of Christianity.
It is.
And then like the subcultures of those and those and those and those that thrive.
Endless.
And to a large degree are all very decent people.
Right.
And then also to a large degree leaves a lot of space for corruption.
Yeah.
And is very often fed on that, and or it's built on that. I think the chance for corruption and power, which is in all things, but without the checks and balances. So you mentioned going from like Christianity to Buddhism, and then a more just spiritual, like generalized, all is love, maybe
kind of,
and
yeah.
I just wonder how many other people have taken that pathway.
Probably a lot, because if we're painting the map, so like I grew up Baptist, and that was like a decade until I was 10. And that was different because like the flavors thing, interpretation. So I got both. I got to go to a white church and I got to go to a Cuban church. And so the different cultures, and like, it is okay to be expressive and cry and do all of that. And then in the white church, it is also okay to be a bit more solemn and like seeing the yin and yang.
Puritan.
Yeah. And I loved both of them. And so that was for 10 years old, at least until I was 10. And then there was, I don't remember, I think my mom kind of did the window shopping, and she's like, let's try Pentecostal, and let's try Mormon, and let's try this, and blah, blah, blah. And so she was in this pursuit. She was like, I don't like that. So we started going with her, and I didn't like the Pentecostal. It kind of freaked me out. Like, now you're telling me that this kind of, not a possession, but like it manifests, and that scared me. And I think through there was a lot of messaging about the apocalypse and the last chapter, the last book. And that fear was like, no, hard pass. This is a big boundary for me. Fear is not motivating me, which is why in my work, like more money and the feeling of like, you're always going to need more. And so there's a scarcity thing. That doesn't motivate me, and it doesn't serve me. So realizing that, like, I think I was 13 and my mom was like, we're not going to go to church as much. And she stopped window shopping, and she bought Doreen Virtue's angel cards. Mm-hmm. And now Doreen Virtue, spoiler, Christian, like way conservative is my understanding. And she like spits on her previous work of angel cards and everything. Yeah. But back in the day,
there's
like early 2000s.
Dig that too, though. So.
Yes. No, exactly. I don't get it. Because I'm like, there's no, for me, I'm like, you can be whatever, you can start on one side and go on another side, whatever. But I think it's a disservice to say, like, I'm happy to talk about that I was Baptist. Like, that was part of my journey. So why am I going to spit on my past? That's part of what shaped me.
Sure. Right, I know.
And that
that's part of that, like, fundamentalism, though.
Yes.
Like, to even come to a certain point in your own journey and then look back on your past self with shame.
Yeah, no.
It's like, but that's a part of your journey.
Yes.
And I there's plenty of things people can do to be ashamed about.
Yes. No, it's true. That's true.
But angels, I'm like, there is this, I feel like part of my mind goes to, and I don't know her story, so there's probably more to it. But my mind goes to like this biblical command. I don't know. To not trust in divination, and witchcraft and sorcery was maybe a part of all that, but divination specifically, and that's what cards are interesting.
Yeah,
because they're the deep trust. Because when I left the church and I started studying all the world religions, and then I got really deep into astrology and parts of tarot and goddess work, and then goddess astrology, and all of the female empowerment things you can do to learn that you actually are a sacred being in the universe. But I found that in that culture and in my own tendencies, like, there is this like desire to believe that that's my path when I draw that card.
I know.
There is something that's like, I always wanted to use it as like a mirror.
Yeah.
And to even draw the Ten of Swords today. And I love this neo-colonial deck because, like, the history, and it's so thematic, I feel like, with all the culture clash stuff we like to talk about. But I don't feel like that is the reason we're having this conversation.
No.
And that is part of the tendency or the trap with that word.
Yes.
Is that I might let that guide my conversation.
Yeah. Like, it becomes a substitute for the religion, because it's like we're so used to being fed that now you're telling me I have to learn to feed myself. Now you're telling me I have to discern for myself. I can't just be numb and sedated. And I think that's the challenge of, like, when anybody asks me, I say, I'm not religious, because that, for me, the minute I say that, it means religion is off the table. So then it's like, when I say spiritual, it's kind of up to you to define what that is. And then I can fill in the box and say, yes, I believe in Jesus. Yes, I believe in God. I don't necessarily call it God because I don't know if it's a gender. So I call it universe or spirit or divine being or the great mystery or the great grandmother or the great unknown.
The great mystery.
And so, like, but then it's like, that means that now about me, that I have placed all that responsibility on myself, and I haven't outsourced it. And it's the same with work. I have placed all that responsibility of feeling fulfillment and financial solvency on me, not the system. And that's ultimately what I think is lacking in our world, is like, we're looking, and I mean, not to poo-poo on us, but it's like, we need it because we want to just let our guard down, and we want to just rest because we haven't rested. So it's like, it is easier potentially to, like, I go to the mosque, or I go to this and I go to that, because it's easier potentially to identify with a group, and that we all have the same language and we can all do the same thing, and that we all, you know what I mean? But then it negates so much inside. And we're already denying ourselves of our full potential. Not to say that you have to have your full potential, but that just, like,
full sovereignty tastes different, though.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
And I was like, oh, do I want to go there? But it's like, I think I have to mention.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for anyone who takes offense to this, but
but also that could be okay to take offense.
Yeah.
Because that might be something to look into.
Okay, well, I'm going to say it.
We're not apologizing. I'm not apologizing.
Okay, well, fair enough. Because I feel like I, to a small extent, experience this pattern that parents also can outsource some of their training of the sovereignty on the church's doctrine. And so that trap of like, well, I don't want to deal with this lesson. And I say this as a non-parent. I don't want to deal with this lesson.
Right.
So the fact that the church kind of has this lesson means I don't have to drill it into my kids as much. Dang. And I say that as it's a trap because the setup for that potential is also the same framework that perhaps the most beautiful way of learning and support and community also happens. Yeah. Because for the parents to have a say in how a child is raised, and the pastor, and the youth, whatever, and the aunties and uncles, and the neighbors, and so it takes a village to raise a child. I want to be true, but I feel like that when parents do fall into that trap, and I feel like it happens in subtle ways, and it happens in stories. You hear it in stories, and you're like, oh, clearly the parent wasn't connected with their kid on that aspect, and the kid internalized a story from the church that wasn't then edified by the home. In the home. Right. And so you see, I feel like we witness this in stories and kind of learn from this and see that it happens too. Yeah. And the shadow and the danger of that is just a reminder that connection with the kids is so valuable because you get to learn what they're internalizing by these potentially scary stories at church. Very scary. Some of my deepest anxiety is still tied back to fear of hell. I know. Still. I know. And then the death of myself without being righteous enough. There it is. So the fear of hellfire, I almost don't fear death because I have righteousness, but then my own fear of hellfire is like, well, am I good enough? Yeah. And the answer is no. And so that spiral of how do these stories get internalized in us? And how are we, it's like back to those systems thinking, like, how are we checking back in? Are we reflecting? Are we hearing from the child how they are, and it's not, and it is a revolutionary thing. We were talking about this morning or last night. It's a revolutionary thing for parents to want to have that deeper emotional connection because it was good enough to just survive. And like for all of our history, all of our ancestors have done a good enough job at surviving. And maybe in this moment, that's what we can ask ourselves is like, what is actually beyond survival is thriving. And what does thriving look like in a way that doesn't, I think that's what the big culture war is about, is we all think we know how to thrive better. Yeah.
I wanted to say that, like, I think, you brought in parenting, and I was like, I think there's something to be said about, like, not wanting your child to fall down. You don't want them to make mistakes. And I think religion, as a pseudo parent, has that same thing of like, if you just do this, you're fine. If all you do is pray and you believe in Jesus, or you you do whatever the formula is, then you're fine. You're fine now, and you're fine for eternity. And eternity is the scariest thing because we don't even know what's there.
So we're trying to comprehension.
Yeah. But the thing is that I feel like negates what life is, which is life is messy, and we should fuck up and we should fall. Because I'm happy I have my calluses. It means that I had a good workout, and I'm glad that I was able to put pressure on my muscles. It means that I'm a strong woman, and I'm glad that I fucking menstruate because it means my body is healthy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, we need to tear things down, and we do need suffering. And that's why I also didn't become a Buddhist, because I'm like, why are we trying to blame something? Suffering is just as juicy as joy. Like, death is just as needed as birth.
Do you remember if suffering was like, was there the subliminal message either in Buddhism or Christianity to like stay in suffering because it was righteous?
Oh, I think more in Christianity.
Because I got that from Christianity, but I don't remember.
I think in Buddhism it was more like Satan is the bad thing. In Christianity, I feel like suffering is the bad thing in Buddhism, is how I took it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, to get to nirvana is to recognize the suffering, find a way to not like detach from whatever it is so that we can avoid that. Not to say that we have to be happy, but it's like avoid suffering. Or like don't get attached to things.
And also acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Because you have to be able to acknowledge it to see it.
Right.
To avoid or go toward. Like,
right.
There's this poem, there are only two directions, toward and away.
Wow.
Or something like that. Quinn Bailey.
Wow.
And I think, God, I don't want to doubt myself. It's just a habit, doubting myself. But I'm like, am I misremembering? I do that a lot.
Yeah.
You have to be able to see it to know what to do with it.
Well, right, exactly.
And that's the part of the salience. Like, we understand what, like, that's how we derive meaning. You mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
And that's how we look out at the landscape and perceive what we perceive as good or bad. Or how we're relating to those things is how we determine what is meaningful and how we want to keep going forward. Because hopefully we keep going forward. Hopefully, the whole onward and upward. That's what my dad would always say growing up. It's just onward and upward. And to keep moving forward onward, I think, is potentially, and I, at this point in my life, have kind of conflated that phrase to God as well, because like that might be the journey of what God is allowing me to do. And the goddess is asking me to remember my inner game.
Yeah.
Remember that you can orient yourself how you choose in this landscape, and that you can derive meaning in different ways than my neighbor.
100%.
And that my neighbor's interpretation of that meaning, or my neighbor's belief system, or the way he sees the world, or even how he feels about freaking Charlie Kirk. Like, I am going to go on a tangent right now.
Okay.
I saw on a Threads post, somebody made a post with all the snow somewhere.
Yeah.
That their neighbor had a snowblower, and that neighbor cleaned all the driveways off on their street or in their neighborhood or whatever, except for the two houses with Trump flags.
Oh God!
And so then all of the responses on these threads, because Threads looks kind of like Reddit, Instagram thing.
Yeah.
And I try not to deep dive into it. I avoided an account for the longest time. I'm like, I kind of prefer reading stuff like that than all the pictures on Instagram sometimes. So I just thought it was a good respite for that, which was like, you got me again. But this one response, and like someone responded with the complete opposite happened in her neighborhood.
Oh God!
And then someone else said that when Charlie Kirk died, one of her neighbors created a memorial in their yard, and all the other neighbors started to leave their doggy poop bags on the memorial.
You see, and I will just say, this is where I'm like,
what the fuck?
This for me is self-harm. Of like when I'm asking myself, what am I believing to be true, or like what am I holding to be true? Not self-harming and not harming others.
Yeah,
I'm doing both in that moment of leaving dog shit on somebody's thing, because I'm not being neighborly. Which is not to say that I have to agree with this person, but what does that say about me to leave that there?
I know.
And what does that say about like what I'm trying to create? And it's like, we don't have to all agree, but we can still be humane and kind and, have a deeper sense of integrity with each other.
Love.
Yes.
I mean,
that's such bullshit.
This whole like free love, new age spiritual stuff. I know. I was genuinely shocked.
I'm like, how, what is it like? Like not pathetic. I mean, it's pathetic, but like how, when it's very like, oh God, what's the word? It's just very like,
it'll come to you.
It'll come to me.
I mean, it's shameful too.
Yes.
And it's the opposite. I mean, I kind of played devil's advocate and was a little shitty about it. And I was like, oh, shitting on the grieving. How American of you.
Oh,
God. I said, like, I hope you've had more humane interactions with your neighbors since then. Because, like, what is, like, that person, like, you talk about motives for leaving neighborhoods, you talk about redlining, you talk about systemic racism, you talk about all that shit is related to that kind of behavior.
God.
And like, that's why, even though, like, the fair housing laws just are still oftentimes very blatantly violated because people think they have the right to do things like that.
Right.
And they think they have the right to have their neighborhood be the same as them. And I think that's such bullshit. And it's the opposite of what I would hope to be, like, the best version of America is.
Yes.
And, like, the idea that 50 little countries can be one big country and we can all get along is such a utopian like dream that to see it play out and it goes so badly in this day and age at this point in time, it feels just like we're failing. And it's not just the United States, but, like, the West. Something is breaking down. And I want to, like, look at that one thread post and be like, this is why. but that's just a microcosm of which is theme.
Yes. And so I'll like, what's coming into my mind is just contextualizing with religion. And it's like the way we behave is, potentially representing what I believe. And what I believe to be true about what I believe. Because, like, if I'm a good Christian, then what does that mean about my behavior?
Right.
And when people ask, what would Jesus do? Yeah, actually.
Jesus would flip the tables. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's performativity of religion and numbing. And all of that allows for people to not engage with their own responsibility.
Yeah.
As a human person.
Yeah.
Deflection. Yes. Yeah. And that's why I don't like, I mean, the people throw around libertarian word about, like, your own right to do whatever. I like that because I want, I wouldn't define myself as libertarian because I don't know what that means. So I don't want to label myself as something that then that person is going to understand something about myself. But it's like, I'm all for LGBTQ rights. I'm all for, if you love whoever you love, do it. Like, why am I going to get
legal?
Right. Yeah. And at the same time, that means there needs to be structure.
Yeah. Where's the borders?
We need that. But then, like, when you were talking about, like, different flavors of Christianity and stuff, I was like, that for me speaks to the need for the different interpretation. Like, just because we all have the same structure doesn't mean we're going to process and do things in a similar way. So it's like we have millions of flavors because people want to interpret things in their own way. But because we still need the structure, so now we're going to have, like, yoga. They have goat yoga. They have dog yoga. They have this. And it's like, you can have a dog with you in yoga, but you don't need to formalize it to say dog yoga. Does that make sense? So it's like the same with religion for me. It's like, you can have a structure, but we don't have to change the structure 15,000 times just because now somebody is like, now we're going to be possessed by the spirit, which is not to say that they are or not. I don't know. But it's like, we don't need to change the structure every time we're reinterpreting something. Like, that's why the lowercase f comes in, and then you have the higher. Yeah. So this is the balance. I feel like there's a thing of, like, what is moral? What does it mean to be human? And then what is the expression of that? And like the whole dog poop thing, like, that for me isn't a good human in general. Yeah. Regardless of what you are in anything. Yeah. And so it's just, like,
witnessing it. Even not being involved if my cul-de-sac started to do that, I'd be like, I want to move.
Yeah. Like, then what are we? Yeah. Like,
I don't like these people.
No.
That's what I would say.
And I think it's okay to not agree with I think that's essential. Because that's another thing I think in religion in general is, like, there's a scapegoat, like Satan. We have a thing about Satan,
right?
Like, who is Satan and why is Satan the bad person? And in all the stories we have, there's good and there's bad. And even the good people sometimes do not good things in order to achieve the good outcome. You know, like the whole Robin Hood thing of like, is it good to steal from the rich because the means justify the ends, or whatever, the ends justify the means? So it's like, where are we slicing this thing?
Yeah, we were talking about this last night. Is it still a good thing to feed your children if you're taking food away from other children to feed your own children?
Yes, exactly.
And it's like, well, you might say you have the power to sway reality one way or another. And it's like, well, and you might say that's your responsibility to feed the children, even if it means, like, if it's their kid or my kid, I'm going to save my kid. Like, okay, yeah, you're designed to do that. That's a good thing.
Right.
But in all the little ways, people take the food, like metaphorically, but also literally, like in all the smaller ways, people do that to protect their own family.
Right.
Like, oh, I just got to grind. Like we were talking about the hustle of real estate.
Yeah.
And like I witness such good people. And that's why I stay in the industry, because I'm like, because it's a high ticket sale. Real estate's a high money commodity in this culture. Which is a whole, like, why is that, as a kind of another thing, but like, okay, let's assess where we are. That's where we are. That's what we have. This is a system. This is the infrastructure, the scaffolding of our reality that I get to play in. So if I accept that this is a way that I can feed my family,
right,
and that perhaps it's a good field or thing to play in to feed my family, it opens the door for sharks and bad actors and scammers and a ton of fraud, and that's just going up and up the past few years. And so to witness and play in the tank, with you will, if like with the sharks who are doing the bad thing, like I might be tempted to do the same thing. I might see like, oh, you can kind of push someone one way or another to make a sale that may or may not be good for them. But if it means my kids get food on the table, then it's worth it. I don't know where that line gets drawn. I don't. I think that's like of all the questions I hold, that's one where I'm like, it bothers me.
Yeah.
But I don't know what to do about it.
I think that's the general question, is like, and that's why it's like, what is right or wrong? But it's like, I don't think there is a one thing, like with abortion. I'm pro-abortion. I'm not a pro-abortion at all times in all ways. But it's like, I think there is a need, just like the drug thing I said. Like, I think there is a need to lose my mind a little bit, just a little bit. I can't always be in control all the time. I think it's healthy.
We need new neural pathways.
You need to loosen up. You need to chill out, but not all the time. So it's like, what is moderation actually? And that's why, again, I feel like when we talk about rules, and for me, religion is a ruling type thing. This is what it is. And you can't question it, because I'm telling you, and you don't know because you didn't write the book and you didn't you weren't here thousands of years ago. Well, I don't know, but it's also like, but then if it doesn't know me and I don't know, then I have to create something for me. And that means that I have to be super responsible and coherent within myself, because how am I gonna, it's like the whole, so my mom had me, I'm a 92 baby, she was 32, and because the medicine at the time was like, my mom was diagnosed with cancer, actually, and I didn't know. I'm now learning about this in my 30s, and I'm like, okay, I need to get more checkups as I get older. And so she had me soon after, and then they had to do a hysterectomy because it was like an ovarian or whatever. So completely gone, like no menopause, no nothing, just straight up. And at the time, that was the knowledge of medicine. Right. Now, you don't need to get a hysterectomy. So what I'm saying is, like, they're making blanket statements and rules for things that they don't know. So now we're doing that at a systemic level through religion. Of like, now you're going to put me in the same situation as somebody else. What if my mode and flavor of interpreting the divine is different than somebody else? And that's totally valid, right? But we can still work in the architecture similarly, right? Which is why I still use words like God, and I still use words like Jesus, because other people understand that, and I understand that to the same level. And so it's like, we need a language of and rules, definitions that are both flexible and structured.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like fascia.
Like fascia. Yes, exactly. Because I'm like, I don't want to tell somebody what to do. You know, it's not my job. It's their job. And if they're not taking that helm, then then what? Then that's the question. Like,
where's their sovereignty?
Yes.
What are they doing?
Exactly.
Yeah. What are we doing?
Yes.
That's the kind of the question in the end. What are we doing?
Exactly. Exactly.
We have this thing to play with.
Exactly.
What are we doing?
Exactly. That's why with my husband Victor, we struggle because I'm a firm believer of like universal health, like some of the social democratic stuff, universal healthcare as like a baseline.
Right. Some sort of baseline.
We need some infrastructure,
even if it's a stipend. I heard that idea recently.
Something. But my husband is like, and if you're watching this, I love you. But he'll say something like, but what if people don't want to work? They just want to take advantage of the system. And so then that question, that fear, that concern, which is valid, it's like, again, the lack of responsibility. So it's like, what type of people are we trying to create? What type of society? A responsible one where we're all in integrity within ourselves, within each other. Co-creating. We all have value. We're all, if I don't know something, I go to Sarah and I'm like, Sarah, help me learn this thing. And vice versa. And we all have each other's backs. And I have my own back because I care about myself.
Yeah.
And then it's like, then I don't need religion to do all that.
Yeah.
Because then we're doing it together.
Responsibility, radical responsibility was the phrase I was thinking of earlier. It's like just this insatiable hunger to grab a hold of everything I can. That was the cross tattoo on my neck. I think I brought that up in a previous episode.
Yeah.
But like that was the moment for me where I asked the universe, like, bring it on. Bring it on. And I got what I was asking for. Gee whiz, did I? Because be careful what you pray for,
Really?
Because you might get it. Because that human need too to take on as much responsibility as I can, so that I can decipher what I truly can control. And if I don't like my life, how do I change it?
That's right.
And I want to reach out as far as I can because I want to know where what I can't control begins.
Wow.
And that's been like the journey and the joy of the journey to be like, okay, I can change this. I can change this. I can change this. I can change this. And that's part of like the biology, like the rights of gender comes down to like, well, what can we change?
Right.
What can't we change? There's always been a queer culture, but the rights to change our physiology and with the surgeries and to children, I feel like that's what's different. And so it's worth a conversation.
That's huge. And then religion of like, is this again, right, wrong? And then and then I think it's just so interesting. Like, I think it's a human thing.
Wait. Can we pause?
Sure.
Okay. 1 second.
Okay.
Because I kind of pausing. And we're back. Oh, I'll take this.
Yes.
Yes. So, as you were saying, religion.
Yes. I know, exactly. This is the big. We've been covering a lot.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's like one of the taboos that society doesn't want to talk about. And whenever that's one of the things, it's like it already has that weightiness because there's been this, we're not talking about it sort of thing. Oh, and I remembered what we were talking about, kind of trans and biology and women.
What can we change? Yeah,
what
we actually can change more than we thought. Yeah.
Yes. And then it's like the morality, what is right, what is wrong. And so that is challenging because I think religion in general, not to say some more than others, I don't know, I haven't studied all the religions, but it has this like, we are setting the rules. And then the people who choose to associate with certain religions, it's like, we're also going to abide by those rules. We're going to be law-abiding citizens. And then that's when we get into queerness and race and just other things, then it's like, So what is that particular scripture of that religion or that dogma? What does that say about that? Because we got to check the rules. Right. We got to see what's right.
And that brings up more zealousness when people have an interpretation that this or isn't allowed.
Right.
And so then it just feeds the war.
Yes, exactly. And then it gets hard because then it's like we don't have that space, that flexibility for that personal interpretation. And that's why I'm kind of like, that's why I'm not a religious person, because I'm like, I want to be granted the right that we all have, which we already have. It's not like I need to ask for it. You already have born with your own volition, but it's like because of the different cultures and religions and like all these layers that are already thrust upon when we're born, it's like then the journey of life is to peel and uncover and get naked and vulnerable and remember. Yeah. And so it's like and not everybody wants complete self-autonomy and self-responsibility.
No,
that's not for everybody.
Nope.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
But like if you want the middle ground, then it's like, especially with these areas of like queerness and whatever it is, it's like you should be able to. Like nobody is trapping you. It feels like a trap because religion comes at this with like the rules and this sort of thing. But it's like you can still like the flavors. You can be whichever sect and branch of whatever religion, and still I really hope that as an individual we can be able to like reconcile and reckon with these questions, because then I think it makes it all the more juicier when we do engage with whatever that thing is, because if we so choose, we can have challenging dialogue with people in our community, and who knows if that creates a ripple effect. Or if anything, it's like you have a stronger, more vulnerable, intimate relationship with that piece of your life that gives capacity to other things. Like I remember going, maybe a tangent, when I got into like spiritual new age stuff and everything was all the rage about law of attraction. And I really enjoyed it because I was like, you're telling me that I have more power than I think I do. Right. Or you're telling me, and I was like, that's awesome.
Right.
And then I didn't like it because it was like, you have to write it down and you have to say, but then I thought to myself, but I don't know actually if that's what I need or want. I don't know if that's how it should, quote unquote, should come about. So it's like, now on top of me having power and autonomy, now I have to, like, I'm God now. I'm supposed to be omnipotent.
Are you your highest, best version of yourself?
And the answer is no, because I'm a human being. And unless, and I do have qualms with like Buddhism and stuff of like, you have to remove yourself from the world and you're in a monastery or whatever, and you are isolated so that you can be more engaged, and you just all like the Dalai Lama, presumably you just dedicate your time to meditate and whatever, and that's fine, but that's very idealized, and I feel like that's disingenuous to a certain extent, because I feel like those of us in real life are most like, we can be tested, if we're going to call it tested, like every day, like the dog poop scenario. Like it's in little things like this that can show us our character versus I'm up on an island, a mountain, isolated. So it's like, oh God, I'm the original train of thought. Oh, the law of attraction. So I was like, I didn't like that, because I'm like, now there's this potential presumptuousness of, do I know at all times? And so I used to do that for the work stuff. I was like, okay, I want salary by this day, or I want this job that I've interviewed for. I want this job, and I want blah, blah, blah. And I would go around praying and saying it in my head. And then when it didn't come through, I was like, did I fuck up? Did I not do it right? Is this not meant for me? And all these other things. So then I had to release that. And I was like, you know what? I know what I do want. I want to make a certain amount of money. I don't know how, okay? But my job isn't in the how anymore. My job is to trust and show up for the work and put myself in the best position and know my non-negotiables, which is why I talked about the non-negotiables the other day.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And I think having a vision is somewhere in there too. Like
Yes.
to see like, okay, I have some sort of idea of what I want, and I'm going to try to move toward there. And all I have to do is just show up and keep watering the goodest parts of myself.
Right. Yeah. Because it's like a plant. I feel like Tad Hargrave or somebody said it. It was like, the carrot is going to do what the carrot's going to do. You can't say, I want you to harvest right now, and you pull it out. Like, you don't know what is happening underneath and what actually needs to get met for it to become nice and orange and juicy and everything. So I have to let go. And that's the scariest thing for me about faith.
Yeah, letting go.
And money and everything is like, I can't control what I can't control. So it again, like, okay, what are my non-negotiables in terms of faith? I don't harm myself and I don't harm others. And then what are my non-negotiables in money? Okay, I don't want it to take more of me than I'm willing to give. So I have a time boundary. Okay. And then I have a money boundary because I don't have debt. So it's like all these different things I start to negotiate. And it's a lot, it's a lot because I'm keeping this all. But it's like, I'd rather do that because then what's the alternative?
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing is like this balance between feeling sovereign enough to say, this is my faith and belief system, and this is how I will act in the world in accordance to my values.
Yes.
And I know enough about what is right and wrong in my life that I can interface in the people around me and feel good about it. I feel like that's one aspect. And then the other side of that coin might be, like, as long as I follow the rules to what I believe my system is, I believe enough in my system and my higher body, like the body above my body, however many bodies above that we want to go. this is one of those pathways, I feel like, of the occult saying you are God.
Yeah.
And this lady's pitfalls was some like crazy eugenic stuff, because you used a word of like what did you say? You said there's the danger of that is this perception that you actually think you know what's best and good in the world.
Right.
And I think that's not like that's one way of trying to understand.
Right.
Like, okay, I have an inner compass.
Yes.
And that is good.
Yeah.
And there's more. There's an outer game too.
That's right.
And so the pitfalls of like this crazy like mentality of like that's the Aleister Crowley occult stuff is like you are the god of your life. Wow. And I think the dangers of that led into some of the like the racism.
I'm not for that.
And whether it was based on skin color, it's still based on this idea of deep purity.
Yeah.
And deep like we are the cleanest, purest, and I think there's no other way than to fall into the trap of like that elitist mentality. And that's why the Epstein file stuff, I think that's why it's related to stuff like that, is because you at some point, I mean, if you had unlimited money, unlimited power, or at least access to unlimited power, I think that's what people were drawn to. The corrupt, big, bad, strong man. It's like, but he can give me anything I want, and that's what he was doing.
It's horrible.
And that's why, you get things like human trafficking, and because you get people to trade everything for a chance at something more, and that's just the human maybe condition. But then the other aspect is this book that I think I have not read all the way through either, but like I like collecting books that say something about like just by existing, it's like wow. And The Pipe in Christ at the very beginning, and it was written by, well, it's a Christian Sioux dialogue, but so it combines it. It first
is a tribe.
Yes.
For those who don't know.
Yes.
Sioux is a tribe, indigenous tribe here in the U.S.
But it first acknowledges God, and then the Catholic medicine man from their tribe.
Wow.
And that was something really shocking to me. You talk about like the Pacific Northwest Coast Salish tribes going on the tribal canoe journey and seeing that a lot of Native American cultures is so, at this point, it just is bound up in Christian faith and Christianity. And then some of the houses that we had the protocols in and the dances had huge crosses in them.
Right.
So it's just there. It is both this like I know best, and also there was some text I read of this region's Native people who acknowledged that the Great Spirit told them that the white man was coming, and that it's okay to work with the white man, and that it's okay that their religion comes to our land. And like that was totally countercultural to what I pictured in my head.
Same.
Or like, and so there is this sort of reminder to me, just like I don't know.
No, and that's what I'm saying.
I don't know shit.
And that's why religion has been so scary for me for so much. Because it's like it assumes that it does know, or that whoever prophesies XYZ, like tiny bit of Quran. I bought a Quran for the first time, and so I've been reading that.
Yes, I wish I could find mine.
You're good.
Read it.
No, you're good. And so I do not have a Muslim background. I've had Muslim friends, but I just do that context. I don't speak Arabic. I have friends who speak Arabic, and she's Egyptian and everything. But that's it. Like I don't know anything. And the way I'm interpreting it, because I also have my own interpretation, is like and I told this to my friend, I'm like, I feel like there's already assumptions in the text itself, because like in the Bible it says, in the beginning, and it kind of it tells a story, but so far in the Quran it's not a story. It like tells you things, or it tells at you, and so it'll say something about like the disbelievers. It doesn't describe who the disbelievers are. It doesn't say what to watch out for. It just assumes there are these people against what we believe to be true, and so you need to watch out for that. Okay. And so it's interesting to me that like religion is trying to fill this void of unknown with like saying what it knows, but it also doesn't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like we don't know what happens after death. We don't know. And it's okay to not know. But because it's like, no, you're going to go to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And then now it feels safer.
And we have a vision for that.
And now we have a vision
for
that.
What it looks like.
And we know how to get there now. Yeah. But it's like, but what if you didn't know? And that's scary because then it's like you have to deal with your fear. You have to deal. And so it's like this, I think the human experiment and the human journey is like this, you know, dichotomy of like, I can only work with what I know and at the same time make some sort of peace sense of what I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's it. So like now we're juggling AI and we're juggling with queerness and DEI and culture wars and all these things. And all of that has been there the whole time. But it's like we're cycling through it because of the now layers of rigidity and rulership and religion that we have. But it's like, but that's not the answer either, or not for some, not for everyone. And so it's like, so how do we make this make sense? How can we all get to a baseline, because there is no baseline at a human societal level that is in integrity in itself, and that we can all kind of like come together and be like, I know that you might disagree, but I'm still okay with you, and I still am okay with your decisions. And so there's a lack of, we need to release control.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, preach. I mentioned to you, I've had hemorrhoids in the past year or so, and I'm just sharing this because I'm like, I think there's some level of like control and stress. I think it's also there's physiological things to like hurting my back. Means I want to sit more, and then gaining a lot of weight and then sitting more means potential for that, and then a lot of stress, and then trying to get healthier, and then I work out, and then I want, and then my legs are more sore, so then I sit more. And anyway, all that to say, like there's also this emotional like tension that it's shown me, where I'm like, this is like, would this have happened if I didn't have this deep desire to control things? Because I also pick at my lip. And so my I have this like, and at this point in my life, and maybe I'm saying this for my own, like 5 years from now, I'm going to look back on this video and be like, oh, you poor thing. You had an OCD, like nervous tick that I sometimes can't stop. I pick at my lip until it bleeds, and then I can't let go of it. And then also with hemorrhoids, it's like, okay, the beginning, there's something about the beginning and the end of what I can process and metabolize that I resent that I am losing control over certain aspects of my life. And simultaneously, I feel like in order to heal these parts of myself, I because that's been a deep theme in my life lately, it's like, I have to let go.
You have to let go.
I have to let go. Because even ending up here and finding a place that we want to stay for a little while, creates a sense of like, okay, home is actually a thing that is safe, and a reminder that at least we can control this.
Yes.
And I don't need to know all necessarily what this higher order or this answer is. That's why like the occult stuff does not even appeal to me anymore. Like I don't want to have this end all be all knowledge of my life or where it's going, or think that I have the power to get anything I want, because I don't actually know what is in my highest and best good. I can trust in that.
Yes.
And hope that I'm not deceived, and maybe keep my eye out for snakes. So that I'm not deceived. But
the snake outside and within.
Right. What's the snake within?
Well, I think it's transformational. Like you know, we were talking about sensuality, sexuality, and like the shame of that. And it's like, that is okay.
The self-shame.
Yeah. Like, I am dirty sometimes. Like, I am not nice sometimes. And I am nice. And I am gracious. And like, all of that can be true.
And maybe I'm not nice because I'm still a good person.
Right.
And maybe niceness and goodness aren't equivalents.
Right. Exactly.
And I think, maybe just restructuring what old beliefs we even have internalized in us, and allowing ourselves to be questioned and to change and to evolve instead of this like higher ideal. I think that's why like learning that like, and this story we both love Native culture, and here there's so many different Native American tribes in North America, in the United States, and just in what was colonized in the past 200-300 years. And I think there's this truth and this tendency to see our colonization and the religious overtake of it as evil. And yet when I see books like this, and I see Native people integrating Western Christianity and loving it, it causes confusion in me, and it does sit me down and make me shut up a little bit and go, well, we were taught, and the Christians of the world are taught, like, to go out and preach the good word, and how can I now, I don't know, there's just still this doubt in me that I can even assume what is right for them.
Well, I feel like, my brother-in-law he was a missionary, and because I'm very anti-religion, or like I'm not pro-religion, that's for sure. And I struggled with him for a minute, because he said he went to South America. I mean, he's South American, and then he would go, and I'm kind of like, I get that you're sharing, and you think that, I don't know if it's what's best, but like you want to share what has helped you. Okay, at like the best possible way I can think about it. He's just sharing. It's like, I really like hot cocoa. I want another person to have hot cocoa. But it's like, but then just let it be. Don't then like force them into submission. Yeah. And that's my line. Because it's like, all of Latin America is Catholic. All of Latin America speaks Spanish. And these are two things that were not there. Like, the indigenous languages, Quechua and Nahuatl, are gone for the most part. And their own art and their own way of living and adoring and whatever is gone, because something was imposed on them. And that's where I'm like, faith is beautiful, but then let people experience and express it their own, like, let them come to it. Like, didn't Jesus say, let the children come to me? So then let them come to you. Like, show it, but then don't force it.
I was just saying the converts I know who are happiest were led by curiosity.
Yes, exactly.
Who were led by people who modeled something that they were just curious about.
Exactly.
And I think that's the Jesus story. He did that in a way where he's like follow me. That's what he said. He just would say, follow me.
Yes, exactly.
And I'm still like, it just is sad that so many cultures do get erased in the name of their interpretation of what that was, like the Crusades and just like the overtaking of all of the Americas, North, Central, South,
all of it,
and even like the parts of Africa that we've talked about, this weird mixed match of cultures that are all thriving together, and even though a lot of it was founded on death,
I mean, there's still beauty in it, and I love seeing the cathedrals, and I love seeing how now people have, but it's kind of like, well, they have no choice now. Like, I know, now it's the remnants of it.
But like, that's why this deck it was like, I like that it's like this mixed match of cultures, but it's also a reflection of like, what does it mean though? So now you have no culture because all the cultures mixed together. But then also Christianity was able to spread like it did because of the way it blended, and like that. But also the blending of cultures opens the doorway for beauty.
So it's like the English language. Like, I love that I can speak English anywhere in the world. Now, that doesn't mean that I want it to be the language of the world, but I like having a universal language that I can speak with everywhere. And I feel like Christianity is kind of like that, in that I can go to Asia, there's Korean Christians, there's Japanese, there's everywhere. And I'm like, so we have a language now for faith. and your interpretation and my flavor and all of that is different. But okay, so we're creating a baseline. The way it came about, okay, but like, and so now we can reconcile, and it's up to us if we choose to have that responsibility of like, okay, I want you to have pro-abortion. I want abortion rights. Not everybody wants that. So it's like, what does that look like now? And then somebody's queer and Christian, and what does that look like now? And like a divorce, and like all these other things that now it's like we can create rules for ourselves potentially, but then how does that look like in a country, in a government? But it's like that for me. So I do like that it's a universal thing, because we need something that's universal that connects us all.
It is so tempting in a good way. Like, it is so tantalizing. And it's one of the things that I do love about Christianity, is that there's this answer to, and that's what Jesus says about the rules, all the rules. And like, he kind of makes fun of the priests a lot of the time, because he's like, you and your rules, like, get over it. And he's like, there is just one path, and it is love.
That's right.
And
That's right.
to say that the war between all the different gods, and then the challenge of holding all the gods within me, and sacrificing to this God, and making sure that all the rules that it would take to make sure my sacrifice is proper.
Right. All the rules of Judaism has.
Like, I think God allows us to question, like, what is the purpose of that, and does it feed your true sacrifice? And that's why in internalizing the religion or the spirit of it, or like the goodness of it, or like the good, not just the good parts and not the bad parts, but like seeing it as a whole, and saying that, like, okay, to act as if I believed in a God, or to act as if I believed in a higher order or a spirit that allowed me to move forward with good intentions, is a very clear, simple answer to just. And I think and when I have witnessed people, because I lead grief hikes now, and so I know all these people who've been through hell, and I hope to meet more, because like the people who have been through hell and back, sometimes, not always, but like faith, even if it's not called faith, but something that guides them through, is often a very simple thing or belief. I don't know, and it's
and that's why I feel like that, and that's why I feel like religion overcomplicates things,
right?
With the rules and stuff, and it's like
the tithing, the money,
like all the what you need to wear, how you need to show up, when you need to show up, what's allowed, what's not allowed, what are the rituals, when are and it's like, so then it's your thing is maintaining that, and no longer the inner check-in and the inner sovereignty and the inner responsibility. It's like, I'm responsible to do the fasting, or like during Good Easter or whatever it is. Like, now I have to do the thing that they're telling me to do, versus how am I actually showing up in my day-to-day as a person, for myself, for the people in my life. And then it's like, so what are we talking about now? Like, are we talking about the performativity of faith, or are we talking about real faith?
Or the participatory aspect of the rituals. I think that's where the rituals of the church, I witnessed it. I mean, growing up, being born into a highly ritualized. I mean, it wasn't highly ritualized. It wasn't the Catholics, and we didn't have. We technically had no holidays, because the Christian holidays of the world were worldly. Like, they weren't, like, God didn't mandate them. And so Christmas wasn't a religious holiday to us.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't. Jesus wasn't born in December.
No, well, that's true.
And so I get, now I understand, like, to have holy days of remembrance is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. To have these rituals of reminders is a beautiful thing. And to go to church every week, we went 3 times a week, and to do the same ritual over and over is a beautiful thing, if you can remember why you're doing it. If you have sovereignty, if you have presence, if you have intentions that are getting clarified for you, if it's helpful for you. And for me, being born into it, it was like, well, that's why I was so curious about like where do I have control, and how can I sift through what I have control until I find what I no longer have control over, because to me all of that ritual was in the field of I don't have control over this.
Right.
And it was just this thing that I go through the motions and do, and then because other people are human beings, to witness the corruption in them and to witness hypocrisy and just cruelty sometimes. I mean, I just to witness just cruelty and like, oh, we're not really in this, are we?
No.
That became my question, or like observation. And so what rituals, like you going on a soul journey, I feel like that's one of the oldest self rituals we can do, is the pilgrimage.
Well, we need that. We need rituals. And I feel like that for me is also hypocritical of some religions of like, how can pagans and witches and Wiccans and whatever else.
Oh yeah, all the moon ceremonies.
Right. Yeah. They're also doing rituals. Maybe it's not as you would like or as you understand, but it's still the same ritual. You have to eat the lamb or the like, you know, the little the bread, and it's a cracker, and then instead of the blood, it's grape juice. Like and then they'll do the thing. Like there's all rituals everywhere. So for me, like I don't know where it started, but taking myself somewhere by myself, which is the key. It could be where I've been before. Ideally, it's where I've never been, but like by myself. Because again, there's like this thing, I guess I'm a big proponent of like self-responsibility. Like we need to be, like one carrot has to be itself. It's not going to rely on other carrots. You know, like it's got to do its own work underground, you know? And so that's, if I'm like, if you're not going to get messy, then I don't know what to tell you. Because like, that's life, you know? And so I'm a big, like, I'm going to fuck up. I'm going to try things that maybe don't work out, and that's okay. So how do I pick myself up, you know? And that's where like some of the diversity DEI stuff, I'm kind of like, yeah, there are infrastructures designed against me. I know we talked about this, but I'm like, but I don't want to victimize and take that on, because I have to navigate my own path regardless. Like, I mean, if we look at other animals, you know, sharks are predators and then we have prey. If I'm a prey in this society because I'm brown and I'm a woman, I still have to survive. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to just lay down and die. I'm not going to wallow. I can't process it, but it's like, that's just life. I'm sorry, but it is.
It is, and I think there's the human desire to be like, oh, but we want to see each other not just survive.
Right, 100%.
We want to see each other thrive, and so to acknowledge the systemic issues in a way where we and I think that's some of like the privilege of thinking of things just working out for people all the time. I know. Is oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. You just said it though.
But it's like it's like both, you know, acknowledge the system, and for me again with the religion, like acknowledge the structure and acknowledge yourself. Yeah. Like we are a piece in the puzzle. The puzzle exists and the piece exists. Like they both have to exist at the same time, but it's not like one. If I'm prioritizing, I say I'm more valuable than the system because I make the system run. So it's like if I'm outsourcing my sense of self and discernment and all of that to the system, assuming that system is going to tell me, then it's like, well, what if the system gets it wrong? What if the system, again with religion, assumes that it knows? And it's like, but the system changes as I change because people fight for their rights and people make action to make the system what they want it. So it's like, same with religion.
It's a lie.
You know, like what Martin Luther did that whole thing to say, oh, I'm not in agreement, and nailed something to the Catholic door and started the Lutheran Church. Mm-hmm. And then Mormon, like all these people have interpreted something in themselves to change the system. So it's like that's the soul journey. It's like I really believe, to do something for ourselves, whether that's like, I'm gonna meditate today, I'm gonna pray, I'm gonna check in on myself, what are my non-negotiables, but like what is your baseline, and then figuring out, then the job is figuring out. But it's like, it's hard because, you know, to me, do this, I have to put money aside, I have to put time aside, I have to put energy aside. And I think I told you, I didn't know if the job was going to continue or not. So that was complete in faith. I was like, I'm carving out this time intentionally, regardless of the system supporting me. And that for me is real faith of like, when the bird flies, like the bird may not have its wings yet, but it's still gonna
the first time the baby bird falls out of the nest, it does not know how to fly.
Exactly.
It's trusting its instincts that it knows how.
Exactly.
And I think that's the silver, or like maybe that's what I was thinking of with like that privileged mentality. Like things just have a way of working out. I think in this substrate of reality, there is a shadowy privilege behind like believing that things work out for people.
Yeah.
Because it's not true.
No.
It's not true that like you can orient yourself as best as you can and still fail. Like hard.
Yes.
And like have everything else go wrong for maybe other reasons.
Yeah.
And then your country goes to war. Like on top of it all. So but I think that's kind of the ideal thing about faith is that if you position yourself in the faith or spirituality in a way that is true internally for you, that things you have that faith that your highest good is being served.
Yes.
That you then open that what is, I think, perceived and what is a privileged mindset.
Yes.
Into your heart that allows you to see more possibility 100%. In your landscape.
100%.
And I think that's the ideal way, or something like like one of the ideal ways to approach faith is that when swallowed or internalized, that inner game, well, that's lowercase, that's what faith is, allows you to see a broader infrastructure of the capital F faith. The 100%. Externalized landscape of
100%.
Like, this makes me feel safe. This makes me, because there are that I see Christians on Facebook, because I follow some good like big Christian people in the space, and they just make political type posts, and then people get in the comments, and I'm always curious what they have to say. And the adherence to stay with your church no matter what is still a really strong one. And that's why when we started to question the church, we were pretty ostracized. Like they just all stopped speaking to me. And if any of my friends from my previous church life are watching this, like, yes, that matters. Like to pray that something may be said or done to help those who fall away, the lost sheep. You know, Jesus went after the one. He left the 99 for the one. And so I think we have these opportunities to live out our beliefs, but until we believe what we know, to try to believe and see it play out, see the opportunities before us, we just miss those chances. And I'm so guilty of that. I see chances pass me by. And like we say, at the end of the day, we reflect, maybe I should have been there for that person or whatever it is. But
and I think that in order to believe, I think action is needed, because like I wouldn't have done anything of what I didn't know what I was capable of if I didn't push myself, like going back to the ritual. So like I didn't know that I was gonna be all these things, a contractor, a consultant, a podcaster, blah, 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 blah. But because I put myself in places, in situations, I'm like, I'm gonna try and I'm gonna do it and then we'll see. And then I was like, oh wow, I do believe I have capacity. I do believe now because I had to experience it. So I feel like belief is an experiential thing too, because if we keep it very cerebral and up in the air, then it's kind of like, okay, but now let's ground it actually and test it. You know, do we actually believe? Do we believe when it's tough? Do we believe, you know, and I think that's also very juicy, because it's kind of like, and it doesn't have to be the same in all times, you know.
Right. That's what community's for.
That's exactly.
Yeah. And you're allowed to leave it when you don't feel safe. And that was my whole thing. I'm like, I can't believe people believe this way. Like, even if you are being socially or abused or emotionally, like whatever this is, because toward the end, before I left, it was not good.
Wow.
And so that belief of like, even when maybe there's abusive cycles happening, you still stay.
Yeah.
And it's like that level of legalistic, like, there's something that gets shut off in the inner world. But I don't know, that kind of goes back to women having the freedom to divorce, or what, like that whole human autonomy stuff. Like, what is sovereignty?
No, exactly. Yeah. And it's a question to come back to, because it's like sometimes I let go of the sovereignty. I'm like, right now I can't afford literally, this amount of independence, because I need to live in this reality where I do need financial stuff, or I do need certain things. So it's like, okay, at this moment in time, this is what I'm doing. But that's not to say forever, which is why I feel like that flexible, fluid thing in faith is so important. Because in one moment in time, you do need more rituals. You need to go on that thing. You need to do certain things, but not always, or not in the same way. Yeah. And so, like, that balance is it's hard, because I'm kind of like, okay, am I going to keep doing solo trips forever? I don't know. Maybe sometimes I'll tell my husband, I'm like, I just need a day. And I just, so like, but that's why the awareness and then the action piece. Because like, I can't tell him if I don't know. And then if I don't even admit it to myself. Yeah. So it's like all these layers. And it's hard to have the capacity, because it's like, you're telling me I have to do all this work. I mean, when you feel safe enough to, when you're not in survival, flight or freeze mode, or flight or whatever. But it's just like, it feels so much better.
And we can in the environment we're in too. Because like the Seattle kid I mentioned earlier, it's like they were in an environment. But they were in an environment where that was just part of the questioning of their development. And we all can kind of, to some degree, choose at some point, be able to choose what environment we put ourselves in.
Yes.
To decide, okay, is this a good way to practice what I believe in?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Because if it's so unsafe that I don't feel good, or like I'm growing, or something's wrong, and I can't analyze that or address that, like, I don't get to live my highest, best version of myself. And maybe that's some of what it comes down to, is some people are resigned to not do that.
No, and that's the thing. It's like, well, then you can't save everyone.
No,
and it's not our job.
And then we have to move on.
We have to, So I think that we're coming to a place in the world where it's like less, like there's a fight for more rigidity or less rigidity.
Right.
And I think potentially that's the fight between the right and the left here in the US, of like more structure, more kind of traditional, or less and more expansiveness. And I don't think both are right. I think there needs to be the moderation, there's like the middle ground. Because we need both. We need structure. I am traditional in certain respects, and I'm also very open-minded and in other respects. So I feel like in all of life, like, and even in every moment, like sometimes I'm like, okay, I want salt on this, but I don't want salt all the time. Does that make sense? Like,
the freedom to choose.
If
you don't have the freedom, if you don't have the tools to change, then you're not actually free. That's what Paul Linden said. Paul Linden, I love you. But that, and he was a pro at that, like giving people more tools for their toolkit. And he's what broke my fundamentalist pattern in my brain. Because that, like I was telling you, the experiment earlier of where I realized, like, oh, I don't give myself the cues I should. Like, I'm feeling cues internally that I can't act out externally. And to identify it and practice it's much harder to stop a behavior than it is to introduce a new one. And so to say, like, stop doing that, to people in any addictive cycle, just stop doing that. It's like, that's not that's not how we are wired.
No.
So to introduce new behavior and to start practicing something new are just the tools that we can add to our lives. And that's where having people around you who want you to grow and challenge you and edify each other and that to be a safe thing and to not feel like we're gonna break or go to hell forever.
Right.
But that's we can't do that for every person. So
no. And that was so good that you said that, because I didn't just stop Christianity, and I've technically never stopped. Like, I still have a Bible at home.
Sure.
I still have a deep love for it, but it's like I started implementing, okay, let me try other flavors. And then I somehow went into Eastern philosophy stuff because I loved yoga. And I still have like my arm, I'll show you later, I have a whole arm tattoo, and it's a lady meditating with the 7 chakras. And I have the Namaste, like the lotus, like I started taking on all these things, but I didn't stop that. And I think that's maybe another thing, is like, what I don't like about religion is like, it has the certain endpoints, and it's not expansive. And I feel like life is expansive, and actually life breathes, it's like, and so it's like it's not in one state all the time. And so in my journey of faith and spirituality, it's like, I like Hinduism actually, and I like Buddhism actually, and I like Taoism actually, and I like all these things. And so I'm like, so I don't need to define it. I mean, I need to define it for myself, but it's like, do I need other people to understand the definition? Well, maybe not. I mean, and I don't need that rigidity anymore. But it's like, it's expanded. And now I don't even use any of the other terms, Buddhism, Taoism, at all. But internally, I've taken things from it. And so now I'm like, okay, I'm oscillating and I'm breathing. And it's like, okay, in this chapter of my life, maybe I do lean hard into Christianity and whatever that structure provides me. And maybe next chapter I do lean hard in agnosticism or Taoism or whatever it is. And it's like, you take the medicine you need in that moment, but you realize that it's like, it's all together, it's all in it together. So and I keep refining or adding, but it's not like it's done. I threw it. I have deep respect for so many Christian mystics, like Paulo Coelho, the author of The Alchemist. The Alchemist, I'm like, he's a Catholic mystic. Who would have known that he has such a beautiful, or like Sufism, the mysticism in Islam. And it's like, there's such richness in all over. And so it just like, it adds the spice, like a meal. I don't just put salt. You want black pepper in there. You want some Tabasco sauce in there. You want some mustard in there, And that's how I feel about it. But I don't always want mustard. So it's like, I have to be in tune with myself.
Right.
Yeah. And then it's medicine. I think faith is medicine. It's very healing.
Yeah.
Literally.
It's literally healing. Because I didn't know until this last chapter of my life that the whole faith of mustard seed verse.
Yes.
I feel like I've just lived that lesson out in such a clear way that it's hard for me to deny that metaphor of like it doesn't even say to now soak your mustard seed in water, now sprout your mustard seed, and then put it in the ground with this and this depth of soil, and then give it this much sunlight. And it didn't have all these rules about how to properly grow a mustard plant or tree. It just says, if you have
it,
the faith of a mustard seed, then you can move mountains from here to there. And it was literally these hills, the uplands, the Saltese uplands, that I was hiking. Because before I did the grief hikes, I just went all the time by myself to process my own grief. And to go up and down hills and through the mountains, your perspective of the mountains shifts. And there was one day I realized the mountain literally moved from here to there. And it's not that the mountain moved, it's that my perception changed. My perspective on reality shifted. And what if having faith so small grows into something that allows you, and just simply holding on to it, just holding on to that tiny amount. Yes. That's all it took for the perspective to change in a way that was so deeply profound. I was like, I prayed for this. Wow. Like, I've prayed for this shift that eases the suffering of my life, because to suffer deeply about a belief, even if it's a limiting belief,
even if it's
and you have to work through that shit, and at some point let it go, and then when you let it go, you have a new perspective, and it took crawling through the mountains to figure that out.
But you took action,
and I kept going up and down, up and down, up and down.
No, I have deep love for faith.
I do
deep
too.
love for faith.
I love it.
Because it's just like, I honestly think it's what makes the world go round.
It is.
And if we even get astronomical about it, like, we're just a floating planet.
Stardust.
Yeah, in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, that alone in of itself, like, and galaxies. And where does it come from? And this mystery, and it's gorgeous, and the stars' colors, and they burst, and they're gaseous, and then this, and I'm like, and you don't believe in nothing? Okay.
Well, here pretty soon, I was just talking to somebody, someone who was looking for land and trying to form a community in part of Washington, and he was like, listen, our government just announced aliens are real, so it's game on. We gotta find the land, we gotta get back to it. And it's like, oh yeah, the skills of the reminder that we are earthlings first and foremost. Of course, and we do, like you said at the very beginning, we have far more similarities than we have even the slightest difference.
Absolutely.
And to believe, I mean, that's the whole money system is a faith-based system. The fact that we even use money means we use faith.
It's fake. It's fake.
It's this belief, right? It's a symbol.
Because it's like,
it's a symbol.
Why am I paying for something that I could grow in the ground?
Well, because we live in a mall. Remember the mall analogy?
I don't like it.
I don't think we talked about that.
We didn't talk about it on here. It was pre-recording, but it's just like,
if your whole life, everything you need, housing, food, entertainment, exercise, social connection, spirituality, all the human needs, a justice system, you have a little security council, whatever, all of it is under the roof of the land developer who built the parcel that your little community lives on, because all of it's kind of owned, and like those apartment complexes, that the plaza, yes, it's the plaza, and it's the same thing as the king with his castle, and all of the little shacks around the castle are like, well, it all comes from the king. The king owns it all. And so this whole no kings thing, but then we go back to villages like this, and it's like, well, oh my god, it's the whole thing, the paradox of it too. It's like we're working through it. We're a baby country with a baby faith, and in this context of this Aristotle Western flavors of even the UK Christianity in the UK. I have friends who were like, it's actually a more liberal thing.
Is it?
Because the paganism was like the old ways.
They're very much more into that.
And I feel like that's what some of the native the thinking that I've heard is like, it's the new way, it's we're evolving.
Yeah.
And that's why this new faith, this one God.
You know what? When you said a baby country, I feel like a step further is we're baby animals. Like, in the grand scheme of the animal kingdom, like, I feel like the other animals have their shit together. Like, you know, elephants know what they're doing.
Yeah, except when we take away their habitat.
Well, because we are. Right. Like, not to say that we're bad, but it's just we're learning in our evolution of what it means to be human. Yeah. And that affects all these other things. And so I'm like, elephants and orangutans, please be patient with us.
Be patient with us. I mean, God, the American beaver, like because with the fur trade, a lot of the settling of the West was based around the fur trade. A lot of the first trails, the historic trails that I'm obsessed with, were first navigated and routed by fur traders. And so what they did to the beaver was almost bring it to the brink of extinction.
Poor beavers.
And then I think the way that the beaver still protects us and still
that's a whole level of evolution and faith.
Yes.
We wouldn't do that as humans.
we wouldn't.
Well,
do that.
But that's the thinking. That's why the rationality. Like that's why we say they have it figured out is because they are like that eternal love.
That's
what we would anthropomorphize as eternal love.
Right.
Thank you, Beaver.
Thank you, Beaver.
By protecting, I mean, the whole West and like the destruction of the not forest management,
right,
but also taking away habitat for creatures like that, because the ability for lands to get like a little wet and then to seed, a little wet and then to seed prevents fires. And so the beavers allowing land to fill up with water keeps our environment moist, and turns out we need water to survive.
We do. I mean, they know because they're all in it together. Like all the animals except us at this point are like, we're all in this together. And I think that's what we're missing, is that holisticism of like, you might be a different type of beaver than me, but you're still a beaver.
Right. You're still part of this ecosystem.
You're still part of,
Yeah.
And we get so caught up in the differences in faith, differences in whatever. And it's just like, but it is okay, you know? No self-harm or harm to others. Like, I don't know if beavers are gonna intentionally, unless like defense, you know, defending themselves, to harm another beaver. But it's not like they're going out of their way to create all these drugs to like numb themselves.
Yeah. It's not like they're sending fentanyl in through the cartel.
Right.
Oh, I'm laughing. It's sad. The picture of beavers being drug dealers too is just kind of silly.
Exactly.
I did see a video one time of a beaver who, like, talk about self-harm. It was a beaver who was chewing on a tree, and the tree fell on the beaver and
poor beaver.
squished it. And so that was this hunter was like, look at this shit. And it was this beaver that died being crushed by his own tree.
Oh no.
And it's like, you know, shit still happens. That's some pretty human shit that beaver just pulled.
We're contagion then.
We're contagion. But I really rebel against that idea that we can't coincide because there is this, and I see it in my like the wilding work and the remembering the rewilding movement of not just our country but the world, and to remember that we are one with the ecosystem, and that it's kind of an extreme, because like the extreme of too much presence is like, I am the flame, like I am the sunlight, and I think there's a truth in there, but the temptation is to get lost in it. But I think the bigger truth that's just easier to remember, and that's why the one God is so appealing. I think because it is to remember that there is one love.
Yeah, one. Yeah.
And Bob Marley had it right this whole time.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, you know.
Dog, we named our dog Marley.
Like, it's so wise.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the ultimate truth, though, singular.
Absolutely.
Love that moves through all things.
That's right. Yeah. So I have nothing else to say. I feel like that was a good note.
Yeah.
One love.
That was
you
faith.
guys.
One love.
Yeah.
That was faith. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I go back to DC. No, I'm here. I'm here for a couple more days. That was it.
Yep, that's what she flew in for. No, I'm so excited to hear what the rest of your journey is like, and what you think of Western Washington. And if you end up in Portland or not, or we're gonna go see Idaho tomorrow.
So excited! Oh, this is so great. You guys are witnessing an awesome friendship.
I had forgotten how powerful friendship is.
It is. We've all been alone for so long. Yeah, I mean, I have friends, but it's like we're not physically close.
Sure.
And then
because the internet is what brings us to each other.
It honestly does. It honestly does. And it's a weird, safe, like, we've got a boundary there, you know? Like, I can commit to a certain extent, but I don't have to share all of myself. And then some of the friends that I do meet in person, it's like, well, this is where I'm at right now, but in the in-between, in like the witnessing and like all of that, and I'm like, well, my partner, my husband is the one that sees me through all of it. Yeah. And I see myself, but it's like you just want someone else. Yeah. And that's hard.
But I'm seeing that too, and I mean the fact that Justin and I had a separation and came back together, I'm like, oh, the fact that we get to grow with this like life partner is so cool. And we can't like expecting that person to meet all of our needs is so dangerous.
It's so dangerous.
I know. And so it's just this double thing where it's like the friends really do matter way more than I think we're led to believe. But it's also cool to meet people through the internet because we find similarities, and instead of just being I'm friends with everyone I have met locally in the past year and a half. Not everybody, but like I've made a lot of friends. But not because we share the same way of thinking. You know, it's because we're close to each other. And I find people I connect with or don't. But the curation is an interesting thing.
I think internet has been really good for me with the curation part. Because I've met two other awesome women through just podcasting. And I'm like, one is in Asheville and one is in Tennessee. So they're East Coast. And I'm like, can we all visit? Like, I would love to do that, you know? And we talk about community building and stuff. And I'm like, that for me. Because the ladies in my vicinity, like, we met either through work or through college. And so they have more history, but we're not necessarily on the same wavelength on certain things. And so it's kind of like, okay, the trade-off, proximity, or like the values and like this. And so I've told you, I'm like, I feel like I'm on the wrong coast because like the wavelength over there. Not to say that there aren't people that think the way I do, but it's harder to find because there's just so much more performance and politics in the DC area, and it's just like and then to do that work of like, can we be friends? Can we show up in each other's lives? And it's like, no.
No capacity.
No capacity for that. No, this is awesome. Oh my goodness. Will you all be well?
Yes, be well. Love you guys.